Hello, everybody. Welcome once again. What a week it has been. I think I'm supposed to say, welcome to this week. What a week it has been. Who cares? It's just a slogan, just an introduction to the show. We're here. We're all going to do awesome. All right. Anyway, before I sort of ramble, this is Thanksgiving weekend. Huge happy Thanksgiving to all of the Canadian folk. Those of you from the US, happy Columbus Day. Well, tomorrow is Columbus Day down there, so it's going to be awesome. Anyway, we got a lot of news to cover today, and we'll see how many folks are, of course, going to be able to show up on a holiday weekend. Big thank you to those of you who are here, and a huge thank you for those of you who are watching this on the replay. That makes up probably about 75% of my total viewership. So definitely a huge thank you to you guys as well. All right. Yesterday, we had a live stream. So this is our second, this weekend, we're doing two live streams. Yesterday, we did a 2-year anniversary because it was the 2-year anniversary of the channel. So we did that. We just had talk. There was no real topic. But it was a lot of fun for those of you who were there. Of course, that is also available on the replay. So be sure to check that out. What have I got next? Blossom. So as you guys know, over on Blossom, Blossom is a social media app for, of course, investors. When you sign up with Blossom, there is a link below. Doesn't cost you anything unless you want to go Blossom Pro. That's a different story altogether. But on Blossom, you can look at my portfolio. You can look at other YouTube streamers' portfolios. You can look at anybody's portfolio who's attached to portfolio. You don't have to attach your portfolio, so you don't necessarily have to share it if you don't want to. But one of the things I am going to be looking forward to in the future is maybe doing some live, or not. I don't know if I want to do it live. I might do it as a video, but do some portfolio reviews that I'll pull off of Blossom. So if you want me to review your portfolio, you definitely want to be on Blossom for that. Okay. With that being said, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else in the preamble that I want to do before we hit that first news story. Well, before we do, let's quickly say hello to the folks in the house. We have Vineet, first comment in. Congratulations on that. Jill's in the house. Vineet saying happy Thanksgiving weekend. Absolutely. Same thing. Jill is happy Thanksgiving. Tim Danters with the turkey lurkey. And then Vineet, happy and grateful for our friendship. Awesome. Glad to hear that. I'm glad, I'm going to get tongue-tied a lot today. I think it's because I talked so much yesterday. And Sterling Silver says, and to you too, and happy Thanksgiving. Cisco says, hello, everybody. Stan says, happy Thanksgiving. And Tim says, happy anniversary. Yeah, it's so cool that the channel is now 2 years old. So we can look forward to, the third anniversary next year. And maybe we'll do another live stream for that as well. I don't know. We'll have to wait till we get closer to that. Jay's in the house with a happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Jay. All right, as we're warming up and getting everything going, let's actually jump into our first news story of the day. And this all about jobs. So we had 2 big job reports come out. Well, technically 3, 2 in the US and 1 in Canada. We're going to start with Canada. So on Friday, we had jobs report that came out. Basically, we had 3 times the expected amount of jobs. So we were expecting about 20,000 new jobs that would have been added in August. It turns out that we added 64,000. So that was the actual. So that's not very good. A lot more jobs. This was also a big increase over August. So in August, we added 40,000 new jobs. So yeah, the jobs are starting to pick up a bit. So obviously the Bank of Canada is not super happy about that. Now, here's an interesting other statistic as well. Unemployment stayed steady at 5.5%. So we do want unemployment to increase. Now, in a sense, it actually has, because with all of this record with this record immigration coming in, we're basically filling those jobs. But, so they're sort of taking, so it's kind of like we're creating jobs. Oh, we got record people coming in, and this is offsetting that unemployment. So even though it says that it's steady, you have to realize that 5.5% after you add in an extra however many, that actually means that it's not as good. So that's a good thing, though. So with the jobs being steady up here in Canada, with inflation ticking up, this is kind of the big thing. We're worried about what the Bank of Canada is going to do because they have a rate meeting on October 25th, and this significantly does increase the chance of a rate hike in on that October 25th meeting. I think most economists right now, they were thinking that it was a low chance that we'd see it in October, most likely see it in November. But now we're starting to see a flip. And people, I would say about 50% of economists are thinking we're going to get it this year. The other 50% are thinking, still November. So we'll have to look. And there's still some more data that will come out before then that will sort of help us decide what's going on. Now, in the US, it's a different story. So the US, we had two jobs reports that came out. So we got kind of a mixed bag. So in the middle of the week on Wednesday, we had an ADP report that came out, and they reported 89,000 new jobs. And that's fantastic because they were anticipating 160,000 new jobs. Wonderful. That's really good news for the Fed. But then along came Friday. And Friday, the US labor, they reported 9.6 million in job openings for August. And in July, that was at 8.9 million. So that's been going up. So we're still seeing a lot of strength in the labor market on the south side of the border as well. So with that strength, the Fed may very well be looking at another rate hike. Now, their next meeting is November 1st. So we could be looking at rate hikes on both sides of the border, coming up within the next month. So that will be interesting to see. We'll have to see. There is more data coming out. There's still another CPI and a PPI for the US before they make their decision. So that's going to be really, really, really interesting. So anyway, that's the job situation. Now, we got this other interesting story that sort of dropped, all about BlackBerry. Let me just slide our ticker to the BlackBerry one. There we go. So BlackBerry is actually looking to split the company in two. So they have two kind of main business units. So they're looking to go into one of the companies is going to consist of their in-car software. So this is the Internet of Things, or IoT. Now, this software is actually doing rather well for BlackBerry. A lot of major car manufacturers are using it. And there's actually a projection that this part of that business is going to grow by about 20% per year. So that's fantastic. So they're looking to have that sort of pushed out into its own IPO within the first half of 2024. Now, the other part of the company, that's going to be all of their cybersecurity offerings. And they will, of course, be what's left over when they split off the IoT part. So this is interesting. It might make people a little more interested in BlackBerry. Now, I don't yet know what's going to happen with, with the shares. So if you're holding BlackBerry, are you going to get one of each, or how is that going to work? So that's something that hasn't been announced, and we won't really know about that probably till the new year when we get closer to them making these plans. All right. Sterling Silver. Sterling Silver asks, where are these new jobs coming from? New businesses started in the country, or are they part-time, temporary jobs? What are they throwing into the numbers? That's a really good question, and I don't know the answer to that. Now, some of these jobs, of course, when you have a high amount of immigration coming in, that means you've got more people needing everything from groceries to services to pretty much everything. So that does create a larger demand. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of these jobs being ticking in. You also have to consider, too, as we move towards the holidays, there's going to be an uptick in some temporary jobs as well. As we move towards, December, and then we should see a drop in January, of course. But it'll be interesting to sort of follow these a little bit further. But yeah, those are great questions. And the news sources I was pulling did not really break that down for me. I would have liked to have seen that information as well. Omra is in the house saying, greetings, folks. Hello, Omra. It is good to see you. All right. Let's get into that next news story. So that was BlackBerry. All right, so these prices are cool. So what's been going on is, of course, as the Canadian government has gotten back into session, one of their top priorities was to meet with the grocers and try to do something about the price hikes. So groceries, of course, have been out of control, and we get another story a little bit later that'll talk a little bit more about these prices as well. But they had a meeting with the big grocery retailers to see what they can do. So they did make an announcement. They announced that Canada's big five grocers, so we're talking Loblaws, Metro, Empire, Walmart, and Costco, they have committed to take a few different actions that will lower prices. So they're saying that they're going to have some price freezes for key food products. They did not specify what those key food products are, but hopefully it's going to be mostly on the staple type foods. And they're also saying about that they're going to have more price matching. But as far as I know, most grocery stores now already do a lot of price matching. So I think that's not a big thing. Now, in addition to this, the government is going to create a task force that's sole purpose is going to be to basically monitor the food situation with these grocers. And they also want that task force to look into sort of an underlooked part of inflation, something called shrinkflation. Anybody who buys potato chips knows about shrinkflation, but this is happening with a lot of things where they'll charge the same price, but they'll reduce the amount of product in it, whether it be by poundage, by weight, by grams, who knows? This is kind of a big thing. So I mean, are you guys seeing a lot of shrinkflation in the stores? Because I know that potato chips you used to get like, I think when I was a kid, you'd get about half, even more, slightly more than half, probably about 70% of the bag was chips and then air. Now I bet you you're lucky if you get 40% chips and then 60% air. So sounds kind of interesting. Let's see. Tim says, would immigration skew the numbers higher or do they not count? No, they do count. They do count. When we're talking about jobs, because, yeah, I mean, everybody who comes over immigration-wise, they have to use services, and that's where that helps create more jobs. In addition to that, you got to think that the people who are getting new jobs, they're being replaced by people who, I don't want to say replaced, but there's going to be immigration people who don't have jobs. So it kind of is a delicate balance with the way that all works out. Sterling Silver. I'm just gonna call you S. I'm just calling you S today, because I don't know what it is, but Sterling Silver is not. There we go. That came out fine that time. Sounds like they are fluffing the numbers to me. Um, yeah, I mean they may very well be. You got to realize this is the whole game with statistics. You can take the same data set and depending on what type of an analysis you want to deal with it, you can make it sound to almost any cater to any agenda that you have. So I'm kind of careful. Like I know the current government has been accused of that plenty of times, trying to make things sound like everything is tickety boo. And if you live in the country, if you are part of our financial system, things are not tickety boo. So and I think Tim Danter is agreeing with you on that. Can you please explain how HMAX gives 15% dividend when Canadian banks don't offer any option premium even at the money? That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I do know that they are writing covered calls on these, but the very specifics of what HMAX is doing, I don't know. I know there's covered calls involved. I think they're doing almost up to 50%. I think they will. I think Hamilton will go up to as far as 50% on those to try to create more funds. So I'm not sure what exact options are being written on that, Thanos. I don't want to try to guess at that. It's kind of the dangers, I think, of covered call investing sometimes is that a lot of times you're looking at it, you've got a couple of different things happening. For one, you've got the prices coming down, especially right now with banks. You've got them writing. Now, they could be taking longs and shorts on these. I think usually it's really hard to tell what they're doing. I would love to spend a day at a place like Hamilton just to sort of see all of the writing going on behind the scenes. I think that would be absolutely fascinating. And oh yes, Tim Danter, another task force. Well, we gotta have them task forces, don't we? Do you think dividends like Hamilton funds can be a scam? I don't want to call them a scam, but here's what I do want to say. When you see that 15%, it's a little bit deceptive. So you have to look at your investing strategy because where the price is coming down, you're not technically getting 15% right now. You'll get some of that back when things recover, but I'm very leery of covered calls to a certain extent. They do produce a good amount of income, but you really, for me, I like to like one of my favorites right now is YTSL, only because I know that that is investing in one thing and it's investing in Tesla. And by looking at what Tesla is doing, I can play that and make some serious money with that one, knowing when to sell it, knowing when to buy it. I think a lot of people who just bought it recently, Tesla has surged a bit and they've made a little bit of money. I know I was in, because I had sold my position before the last Tesla earnings report because I thought that one was going to be a bad earnings report. Now this next cup, just sort of speaking of that, I think is it the 18th? I think it's the 18th of September that we have the next Tesla earnings report coming out. So that's coming out again soon. So I'm going to take a look at that and see whether I want to be holding any of the, of YTSL going into it. And the reason I would use that opposed to Tesla itself is that because it's a smaller value, you can make more money just, off of the different units opposed to, because you can't buy as many Tesla where it's much more expensive. So that's kind of the way I kind of play that. But you have to be patient. Here's the thing with a covered call. As long as the company shows that they're profitable and they're not cutting that dividend all the time, you do have that amount coming out. So you got that dividend coming. That's great. That's fine. There's money coming into your account. But in this type of a market, we've also got that downfall that's happening. So, whatever you bought most of your covered calls at right now, they're a lot less. There's exceptions to that. So if you have any covered calls, for example, that dealt with technology, a lot of those are up. So that's not a bad. It can be a bad thing and it cannot be a bad thing at the same time. It's hard to give you an idea. Like if you talk to sort of somebody who's straight up covered call investor, they'd argue with me till the cows come home. Now I'm more of a total return investor, so I see the desire of something like, for example, I see the appeal for something like an HMAX or a UMAX or one of these covered call ETFs. But I know that I can make more money overall, investing in something that has a good growth potential, has a good growth history. Like for example, HMM.A. I've made a crap load on that this year. I've made more than I could make with any covered call. So you kind of have to look at it. Where I think covered calls are good is when you have a retirement, portfolio, and your goal is you don't really care a lot about the growth in that portfolio, but you want that steady income coming out because you don't want it affecting some of the supports that you're getting. So, for example, if you don't have any other income other than what's coming out of your TFSA, and you want to maintain your GIS, so your guaranteed income supplement, then covered calls are a great way to achieve that. Covered calls, I hate to say split core in a good market, but I'm very leery of split core in bad markets. And if you look at some of the split cores during the pandemic, some of them did stop actually paying their dividends for a bit. So you have to kind of that will happen with a split core. And split cores are all about return of capital as well. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, where was I? Right here. See, let's see. Yes, smaller package goods, same prices. Yeah, exactly, V. Perfect. And that's in regards to Tesla and YTSL. Can you call me Silver Surfer if that is easier for you? Absolutely. Silver Surfer. There you go. I'm a fan, so we'll go with that. Can you make a detailed video on it? That would be awesome. Yeah, I can. I definitely want to. I will tell you though, when I make a video on covered calls, and anytime I say anything negative about it, I do get a little bit of hate back for it. But That's okay. I don't mind that because I would rather do that. Tim wants to know about the AI generated ads. I was watching an interview yesterday where the musician said his hands are tied with who to go after for an AI generated voice on a song. Okay. Well, the story I have for you is not that, but we're going to get to that here in just a second. I just want to quickly get caught up here with chat. AI is not like Napster where you knew who to go after. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great insight. Thank you so much. Silver Surfer says, I believe in Tesla for the long term, but that's just me. Yeah, I think so too. I do like Tesla overall. Any thoughts on ENB and ENS? All right, so that's getting back into the split core. I do hold ENS. Now they're a split core. They do, what is it they do? They do Enbridge. So solely doing Enbridge, writing, I don't know if they write covered calls on it or not, but it is a split core and they're returning some of your money. Now, the thing with split cores too is they're not really designed for long term. So a split core is they'll come up with a certain term. It's like an expiration date on that. And they're giving you return of capital as you go along. So a lot of times you have to sort of realize, okay, well, I'm going to be losing a little bit of my capital. Now, here's the beautiful thing. If you're holding it in a registered account, like in your TFSA, then you don't have to worry with the tax implications of that, which is great. But at the same time, you can see some issues with the price. But the price on ones like ENS, they do tend to be pretty stable. So when Enbridge does well, ENS tends to follow pretty well in the same vein. So I do hold ENS. I like that dividend on it. But here's the thing. Enbridge is a company that is going to be around. You're going to get a lot more growth with Enbridge. And Enbridge right now is at a good price that you can get in with a half decent dividend. So you have to kind of weigh that with what your long-term goals are. All right. Sammer says, good afternoon and happy Thanksgiving. King of Day says, we'll try to get that up there, King of Day. I made it, y'all. What's up? Happy Thanksgiving. Samer, split core are with discount on the NAV. Goodbye time. There we go. There's from Samer. Yeah, I'm still a little hesitant on the split core, but I think as we move to a point where when I see the market looking like we're about to make a good turnaround and we're not going to be, we're not going to be staying in the low, because right now we're still, as far as I'm concerned, we're still in a bear market. Once it looks like we are heading towards that bull market and I feel more confident in it and I feel like the bottom is in, that's when I'm going to be more inclined to get into some of these split cores because, they do have fantastic dividends and I can certainly ride them out that way. All right. Now, our next story is those AI generated ads. Okay. So what I'm talking about, and I know what Tim was mentioning. Tim's mentioning something a little bit different, but we can touch on that as well. But first of all, right now, Meta. So Meta is looking to create basically their AI generated ads. So what they will do is you will have AI that will actually work with these ads to alter them. So everything from it can alter all of the backgrounds on them. It can alter the text, the fonts. And the idea behind this is that they want to do that to make it more appealing to, well, you. So, and not specifically you per se, but they might have for ads. So for example, let's say people who, let's say people who bowl, they might respond well to a purple background. I'm pulling this part out of my butt, folks. But, that's the type of thing they can do. They can, and it will eventually get to a point where it will be not so much a demographic, but it will actually be a person. So they'll be able to, through the use of AI, they'll know what colors you respond to. So let's say, for example, our good old buddy here, Sterling Silver, now Silver Surfer. There we go. Now I'm having trouble all around. Let's just say Silver Surfer really loves the color silver and clicks on more ads that have silver backgrounds than any other color. Well, an AI would know this, and an AI would be like, oh, here's our generic, Meta ad. Let's turn it silver because Silver Surfer might click on it. So, that's kind of the direction that we're moving into. But now what Tim was talking about is a lot of times AI has been, when it goes across the internet, doing all of its sampling, things like ChatGPT, it's a lot of times sampling stuff that is copyrighted. So it's pulling material in and giving it to you. If you're asking ChatGPT a question that may be copyrighted, sometimes it may be using copyrighted images, some of the image ones. And in addition to that, uh, Tim was talking about music. Sometimes, yeah, like AI has created music tracks using artists who didn't actually participate in it. And that's kind of that whole thing. So not a lot of artists are saying that, hey, if AI makes a track that sounds like me, that everybody assumes is me, I should get paid for it. So that's kind of part of that whole argument that's going on because it's just kind of that thing. Now, I know the makers of like ChatGPT, so OpenAI and other AI creators, they're trying to look at ways to prevent AI from doing that. So that way their AI makes things more, original, which is what we kind of want it to do. But you can argue that, I mean, is how much originality is left when you look at how many paintings have been made. I mean, everything under the sun has been painted. So if AI creates a painting, it has to be pulling parts of it from everything. So it's really hard, I think, to find the exact line. And I think once legislation starts coming out for AI, we're going to see a little bit more of what's going to happen. And oh yes, and the recession not even started yet. That's right. And everybody's still talking about, we're still in that argument. Is it going to be a soft landing or a hard landing? Um, I want to see the recession, and I may be in the minority, but the only reason I want to see the recession is that if we don't have that recession and we manage to stumble along into a bull market, I don't think it'll be a strong bull market. I think that we need to basically push our way through that bottom part of the economic cycle so that we can have a very strong and prolonged bull market on the other side. So I'm kind of, and here's the thing. When I say I'm pro recession, I don't even think it's going to be a long recession. I think it'll be like less than a year. And a bull market tends to, in a recession, happen usually in the middle. It's usually what pulls us out of the recession. So it's not like we'd be saying, okay, let's have the market red for a year. Nah, it wouldn't even be red for a full 6 months because, I mean, look at what just happened earlier in the summer, early in the year. We did have a bit of a green pump. Some people are calling it a giant dead cat bounce, but we have to take it. I mean, in a bear market, you have bullish movements. In a bull market, you're going to have bearish movements. So it's all going to continually go that way. So we'll have to take a look, and it'll be really interesting, I think, to see how this is all going to roll out. Like, one of the things I'm going to be interested in is I'm going to be watching oil this week coming up, just to see if all of this mess going on right now in the Middle East is going to impact that. So far, it hasn't. So far, I haven't seen any real impact. But I think that we've only just begun with what's going on in the Middle East. So have to definitely pay attention and see how that is going to impact oil and how I can take advantage of that as an investor, of course. All right. Sterling. So Silver Surfer says, if AI was really so smart, it wouldn't send me any ads. It would know I find them irritating. Yeah, you would think so. The problem is, I mean, maybe AI will look at Silver Surfer and say, "Huh, well, he hasn't responded to any of these yet. Let's try these other ones." It's one of those things. And sometimes ads can be very interesting. Like if you ever look in Facebook, I always look, and even if it's an article that I normally would look at, as soon as I see a little words up around the top that says sponsored, not going to it. Doesn't matter how much I want to know what that clickbait is promising to give me, I'm not going to click on it. Now, if it doesn't say sponsored, I will absolutely click on it. And then I'll usually get my answer. I know the few times I've been tricked and I missed that sponsored, I'll go in and, the thing I want to find, I'll read through the whole article and it's not even there. And I'm like, and that, tell you, that to me is like, what if whoever sponsored that, if they then try to sell me something, there's a 0% chance. Well, actually, even if I do see something on Facebook that I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that product. I still won't click on the link in Facebook. I'll just go and Google the product myself and go directly to it if it's something I really, really want. So Yeah. And yeah, I hate ads. I don't know what I want when I want it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think everybody kind of hates ads. And here's an interesting thing. If you hate ads, here this is on the horizon, Meta Pro. So Meta is they're looking at, and they're doing this right now in the Economic Union, so in the EU. They're looking at making a Meta Pro version. Now they're going to charge about $14 a month because they say that's how much they make off of the average user from the ads. So they're going to charge $14 a month for an ad-free version of Meta, and you also get ad-free Instagram at the same time. So this is rolling out. Now, the reason it's rolling out in the EU first is that there are legal concerns and legal issues around ads that we don't have in North America. So there's no rush for them to roll that out here. I imagine, though, you'll probably see a version of it pop up in North America probably within about a year. But here's the thing: who uses Facebook enough that they're willing to pay $14 a month just to avoid ads? Personally, I don't use it that much that I would. I'll look at it only because family's on it. And I go in it, of course, to go to our Facebook group. So Mountain Finance, you can search for that. If you guys aren't in it, you can search on that and go in there. There's no ads in our group, which is fantastic. Just the stuff I post and stuff about what's coming up and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely kind of want to avoid that. So yeah, all right. Let's move to our next story. Ooh, we're getting through the news pretty quickly today. I like it. All right. So work from home. We got some stuff coming on with work at home. So this all comes out of LinkedIn. So new work from home jobs are actually kind of drying up. So right now, out of all of the job listings on LinkedIn, only 9% offer a full work from home experience as an option. Now, keep in mind, back in March of 2022, that's when it peaked, and that was at 21% of their listings had full work at home options. So we're now kind of moving back away from the office. So many companies are still offering work at home, but not as a full-time thing. So it's more or less you'll have to come into the office 2, maybe 3 days a week, and then you may have a couple of days at work at home. That tends to be what is on the agenda right now for companies like this. Now, this is good. Retailers actually really, really like this, especially if you take a look at the retailers who are set up in downtown cores of big cities where all the offices are. They love the fact that people are coming back to the office because then, that puts more customers in their area, and that is good for business, absolutely, for them. So, that's going to be kind of interesting. Now, Jill says on the jobs front, it's mostly education sector and other jobs that are part-time. Oh, excuse me. Perhaps it didn't actually break it down demographically per jobs. Let's see. Silver Surfer says, what's Facebook's demographics these days? 35 to 45-year-olds, younger folks are into TikTok now. Yeah, younger folks are into everything but Facebook. I think you'll only have a situation where, I think younger folks still have a Facebook account. It's more or less so that they can go in and wish grandma a happy birthday. But yeah, the demographic age-wise has been going up. Everything from TikTok, and before TikTok, it was like Snapchat, and there's a lot of different options out there that the younger people are more into. And TikTok is definitely big, and also anything that has shorts. I think like Reels and YouTube Shorts, things like that are pretty darn popular as well. So that's not a bad thing. All right, let's get to our next story. Oh, this is fantastic. We'll have lots of time to just chat about whatever we want to today because we'll be through all of these stories pretty darn fast from the looks of things. All right, I'll just pull that one off. All right, so happy Thanksgiving. Believe it or not, it is a story. So what's going on with Thanksgiving is the traditional Thanksgiving in Canada is going to cost you more than ever this year, thanks to, steady food inflation. And I got some data. So last year, on average, turkey cost $6.59 a kilogram. This year, that same turkey is now as high as $9.90 a kilogram. Holy banana bread. Now, apparently, though, some Sobeys have a sort of a better price of 7.69 a kilogram. Um, yeah, it's just, and it's not just turkey. Potatoes are up about 6.8% this year. Brown rice is up 6.3%. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, though. Costco apparently still has cheap pumpkin pies, so you can at least have your dessert at a reasonable price. Now, for those of you who are American watching this, 1 kilogram has roughly about 2.205 pounds, just to throw that conversion in there. So a lot of people are actually thinking about, okay, well, do I really need turkey this year? And if you're like Omra, you don't even like turkey that much. So, I don't know. I mean, personally, I think chicken. I would rather, if I had a choice, hey, let's have a turkey or let's have some chicken legs. I'd go for the chicken personally. I think it tastes a little better. Um, and there's other things too. I mean, there's ham. You can have ham for Thanksgiving or duck or, I have no idea about duck. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And V has just thrown a damp towel on the whole thing. He got an email from Safeway for a turkey recall. Oh dear. Maybe that's what's been going on with Safeway. They've been selling them cheap, hoping they didn't have to recall them. Oh boy. So yeah, well, hopefully you don't have a bad turkey this year from Safeway. Hopefully. I'm hoping that there's not that many there. Now we do have, of course, and we'll get through the last of our story, as our reoccurring segment called the Crypto Rounds. We're going to do the Crypto Rounds. So, only a couple of stories, really. So, El Salvador is back in the news. If you guys remember, El Salvador has been planning to use volcanoes to do Bitcoin mining. Well, they're now moving ahead with a project. It's going to be powered by a volcano, and they're actually going to call it Lava Pool. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now we also have a Ripple story. So a U.S. district judge, they denied the SEC, so the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now they had a request to appeal a recent decision regarding the Ripple lawsuit. So lawsuit, not scoop. A scoop of potatoes for Thanksgiving, but a lawsuit is something totally different. So yeah, they wanted to appeal it. So what happened, if we go back in time, I guess, back in July, basically a judge by the name of Torres found that some of Ripple's sales of XRP were unregistered securities offerings in violation of the law. But she then ruled that other XRP distributions by Ripple didn't qualify as securities, which was a huge win for Ripple. So the SEC, of course, tried to appeal it, and that, of course, has now been rejected. So that's good news for Ripple folks. I know the Danters like their Ripple, their XRP. So that's looking pretty good on that. Now, next week, there's pretty much nothing going on in Canada when it comes to any important meetings involving the economy. But in the US, we have two big meetings. So on Wednesday, October 11th, we've got their PPI. And then on Thursday, October 12th, we got the CPI. Earnings-wise, we got really nothing coming out next week on earnings. So that, once again, is just that's just a, I don't know what to call it. Just call it a goose egg, pretty much. Yeah, there was like really nothing there. We should be, I don't even know when the next big companies are coming out with some earnings, but we'll let you know a week before it happens. I do know, I think my eyes, as I mentioned before, are going to be on that Tesla earnings that will be coming out fairly soon. So October 18th, I believe. All right, now let me, we'll knock that back there. All right, so we're done the news, folks. So now it's whatever you guys want to talk about. Just throw some stuff in chat, and we'll talk about this, that, and the other thing. There's a cat running around by my feet looking for treats, but I'm like, no, you're not getting treats while I am in a stream. So I still haven't forgotten about the cat cam. So that is something that I might want to do. Come here, kitty. This here. No. Oh. This is the big cat. So she really, really, really loves her treats. And there you go. You're now on the air. She used to be a kitten a year ago, so she's just over a year old. And I might as well give her treats. If I don't give her treats, you know what she's going to do? She's going to keep on jumping up on me. So here we go. There we go. She now got her treats. So everything should be good. It's actually interesting. On Twitch, they actually have different points that you can earn. And as you earn points, you can then get the Twitcher to do things like give a cat a treat or something like that. I kind of wish we had something like that here because I would absolutely do that. There you go, Mario. I gave the kitty a treat. The kitty got a treat. There we go. So she is all good. So coming up on the channel this week, Tuesday, I'm actually doing a story on physical gold, silver. I touch a little bit on platinum and palladium as well. So that's coming up on Tuesday. Now we also have, we'll do a deep dive again on Friday. And I think right now it's a race between TELUS International and Alimentation Couche-Tard. So one of those two, it'll be one of those two. I don't know who it is right now. So if you haven't voted yet, go over to the community tab. Be sure to vote for whichever company you want to see a deep dive on, and we're going to do them next. Then the following, see, we're jumping ahead. We're really jumping ahead. The following Monday, because I know what that one is going to be. We're going to take another look at that max yield. So that's going to be really, really interesting. All right. Now let's see here. V says, I think the current geopolitical event will affect the market next week. The market hates bad news. Yes, I agree. We'll have to see. The other interesting thing is, I mean, we had a red week overall this last week, but we did have a little bit of green at the end of the week. That was kind of nice as it turned green towards the end of Friday. So I was hoping that was going to carry over into this week, but it's going to be really interesting. The whole stuff going on in the Middle East, I think, is definitely kind of like, if you guys remember, when Russia went into Ukraine, the market was kind of wonky for about a week. We may get a wonky week. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that happens. And yeah, of course, loves it that the cat got some treats. Tim Dancer says, Walmart CEO is watching weight loss products like Ozempic. Seems to imply that it is having a little effect in food sales. Well, there's a lot of interesting things. So Ozempic is a weekly shot that basically plays around with your hormones so that you're not as hungry. So people who, of course, are using it are going to eat less, and that's how they lose weight. That's all fine and dandy. But here's the thing. I don't think there's enough people using it that it should really, really impact, something like Walmart's food supply, or their food sales. I don't think it will. I don't think enough people are using it for that. Also consider that there have been some issues lately. I've seen Ozempic in the news with people having issues with their stomach who've been taking it. Not a lot of people. Like, it's very rare. But when the news blows up the odd story, it makes people a little more scared than they probably should be. But we'll have to see how that works out. But I don't think that's going to impact the actual price itself. All right. Oh, coming up, not this week, but the following week, we're going to have our channel members only live stream. And people have been voting on that. I think right now, my news sources, I think that's what people want to talk about. So that vote is still open. So, if you're a channel member, go take a look. Once again, community tab. Make sure that I'm doing the topics that you want for that. So we'll have a lot of fun on that. And that'll be not this Thursday, but the following Thursday night at 7. So that's our channel membership live stream. Of course, if you're not a channel membership, there is a right underneath where you got to post a comment on the thing. I think it's post a comment. I just got to look at it over here. Yeah, so right where you can put your chat. So right underneath that, you got a happy face, a $sign, and a plus thing. I think through the $sign, that's where you go if you wanted to become a channel member. So less than the price of a cup of coffee a month. You support the channel, you get to see extra content. And the beautiful thing is, when you become a channel member, you get to watch every other exclusive thing from the beginning of time. Well, at least from the time that we got monetized and started having channel members. And you also get sort of higher priority when it comes to, hey, I want you to do this deep dive, or some things that you want with the channel. I tend to throw things at the channel members a little bit first, and I'm looking to at adding even more for the channel members. So that's something I have been actively sort of thinking about to try to figure out what I can do, because I want to make sure that people who are, donating that, what is it, $2 and something or something like that, or is it $2.99? I don't know what it is. It's something like that. But people who are paying that, I want to make sure they're getting their money's worth. So that's kind of a big thing for me as well. And keep in mind, for we're in tough economic times. For those of you who are not channel members, I also don't want you to feel like you're missing out on the channel. So I tend to do as much as I can for that as well. And I think the core content's always going to be free. Sometimes the channel members will ask me to do something, and I'm like, that's more of a core content suggestion than than an exclusive channel members. Where for the channel members, it's like, hey, let's do a reaction to this, or let's do that. And I'm like, okay, sure, we'll do that. But for you guys, if it's a deep dive, I'd rather do a deep dive on the main channel than opposed to on the membership part. Anyway, that's just fun. Jill says Autumn. Yes, that is the name of that kitty I showed you. That is Autumn. So she's a good little kitty. She eats a little bit too much, though. So she's got you probably couldn't tell from the amount I held her up. But now that the kitten is pretty much moving away from a lot of the kitten food, that should hopefully help, because that kitten food is a lot more fattening. And I think Autumn likes that more than she likes the adult food. So we're going to definitely work on getting that all done. Yeah, so I think that's what we got coming up. As we move, of course, towards the new year, I'm going to start looking as well at, here we go. Joe has let us know the membership is $2.99 USD. So then it's like what, $3.50 Canadian, something like that. I don't know. You'd have to do the conversion, but it's pretty darn cheap. I also give away first Sunday of every month. I do give away 5 free memberships. So it's kind of funny. And if it's a situation like last time, one of my other accounts got a free membership. So I just did an extra one to make sure that 5 free memberships went out, because that's not fair. Yeah, and that's just me. And I'll keep, that's a tradition I like. I think I'll keep that going. Yeah, what was I going to say? If you guys got anything you want to talk about, throw it in now. I mean, we are kind of heading towards the end, but if you guys want to keep me on longer, then you got to throw some stuff down there for me to talk about. There was one other thing I think I wanted to mention. Oh, as we're heading towards the end of the year, I like to reinvent the channel every year. Try to keep things from not being the same. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the green background, so the one behind here with the little Mountain Finance, on the main videos, I've decreased the size of the Mountain Finance. So I'm even thinking about changing that color up a little bit. So just little things like that. I'm going to be taking a look at some of the standard formats in the videos and going to maybe tinker a little bit with that, just to keep things fresh and new and exciting and all of that. I don't think I'm going to be changing any of the actual format per se, but it's hard to say. Just keep in mind that I normally do a list video and then a deep dive, but some weeks I'm going to not do a list video, and some weeks I may not do a deep dive video, because I do have other types of videos I want to throw in from time to time, kind of like that's what Monday is. Monday is a video all about physical assets. So if you ever wondered, how do I go about buying a gold bar? That's going to be the video for you. We'll hammer that all out. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, all of that fun stuff. So that'll be Monday. All right. Well, everybody, I guess if you guys don't have anything else to say, we'll wrap it up here. A little bit shorter this week on the Thanksgiving Day weekend, but we'll be back here next week, and there'll be a whole bunch more of you guys, and we'll have tons of questions, of course, as usual. So until then, everybody, take care. I will see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.